everybody, welcome back to sprueVerse, my scale model universe. And it is so exciting to have you all with me today. This is a red letter day in the history of sprueVerse because we are about to embark on another challenge with World of Wayne. And if you don't know who Wayne is, you need to go check out his channel. It is World of Wayne. And beyond being one of the coolest guys in the universe and a really good friend, he is my challenge mate for the third attempt at trying to build something from the movies. Now, if you're not familiar with these challenges, it's worth going back and checking out the channel and seeing what our initial challenge was. It was, in fact, the ET mothership, and it was an incredibly successful build. We had two different versions of the ship from two different manufacturers or two different companies, and we challenged each other to build the ships, and then we did a final reveal on his live Thursday night feeds. Always a lot of fun. The second challenge was from the movie Jaws. It was to take the scene where Hooper is attacked by the shark in the cage, loses his stun dart, and ends up diving to the bottom of the ocean and staying there until the very end of the movie, where he pops up and it's just him and Roy Scheider as Chief Brody, who are strangely sort of just hanging out in the wreckage. And that was a mitigated disaster because trying to encapsulate the whole thing in resin was A, not for the faint of heart, and B, a lesson learned. But hey, we are back, and this time we've got the magnificent ORCA Quince boat from the movie in what we think is about 1/12 scale. We're not entirely sure because the genius that created this, Bill Wieger, can't really tell us what scale it is. And the truth is, he'll admit to you that even in his finished final piece, which is a museum quality build, there are definitely some questions about scale, but it doesn't matter because the thing is awesome. It is just absolutely awesome, and here we are. So, a couple of things I want to get out of the way before we launch. Now, this is November the 24th, 2021. It is the day before Thanksgiving. I'm here at the sprueVerse studio in Los Angeles, and I just got back from a week-long visit to the UK, and I had the privilege and pleasure of being on Wayne's last Thursday night, the 19th, I think it was, his feed. And we did a 2-hour session, and we sort of revealed this boat in all of its glory and talked a little bit about it, and it was so much fun. I have to tell you, not just Wayne himself, but Mrs. World of Wayne. Esther, I love you so much. You are such an awesome person, and thank you so much for your hospitality. I just couldn't have had a better time if I'd have designed it in you know, some altruistic universe. It was absolutely a pleasure and so much fun. And we got to go to London and actually see The Shark Is Broken, which is a sort of a 1 hour 10-minute play at the Ambassador Theatre in Covent Garden, and it stars Adam Shaw. Is it? I think it's Adam Shaw. Anyway, he is Robert Shaw's son, and the story is about the goings-on behind the scenes of making this film, and some of the friction and tension. I don't know how much of it is true and how much of it is false, but it certainly was one of those films that everybody went into thinking they were making some kind of a sort of B-movie thriller or horror movie, and it turned out to be one of the most successful movies of all time, and obviously launched careers, including Spielberg's, and the rest, as they say, is history. But here we are. And so before I dive in, because this episode is really not a build episode, it's kind of to show you what I've got, talk about strategy, and talk about some of the things that we're planning to do, because it is this boat, I should say, is just absolutely awesome. but it's going to require a lot of thought and a lot of creativity, because while a good portion of the kit, which is all resin, is there for you, some of the things we're discovering might not be absolutely accurate, and we do want this to be as canon as possible. I mean, that is one of the challenges. So we'll talk about that when I put the boat in front of us. But before then, there was a couple of things I wanted to share with you, because it is funny. Scale is one of those things that you really have to kind of get into your head. You know, I mean, obviously we know with spaceships and outer space, scale is a relative term. How do we know how big things really are, right? But in grounded on Earth, there's an awful lot of things that we know about scale. And one of the first things that happened, it was really interesting, was I reached out to another dear friend, Jeff Fink, who has words can't explain how much of an honor and delight it is to have him in my life. But anyway, I reached out to him and said, hey, we need the lamp that goes over the Banquette inside the cabin for the ORCA. It's not supplied with the kit. Could you help me? And he said, yeah, absolutely. And literally, like that, he had produced an STL file for me, which we printed. Now, curiously, we printed it in two sizes: the size that we thought it might be and a smaller size. And interestingly enough, I'm actually going to go with the smaller size scale, and I'll show you again what all of that means in context in just a few minutes. But before we get started, there is a couple of fun things I wanted to share with you, and one of them was I started looking for things to put inside the boat. Now, I do know I have a goodie bag coming from Wayne. He's found some portholes. He's found incredible portholes, brass turnings that are just amazing, and they have the glass in them. And he's also found some rigging and some other things. Anyway, he's sending it my way, and I'm so excited and grateful for that. But I wanted to share these with you because I thought this was fun. I was looking for dollhouse things on a dollhouse website, and I came across these bottles. So let me just show you these on this camera, because I think it's a lot of fun. Now, interestingly enough, the kit itself does come with some bottles here, and let me just open this up because I think it's pretty hilarious. I don't know, but this is how wrong I was, because the 1/12 scale for a I guess for a doll's house apparently is not 1/12 scale for this. Check it out. Let me get my stupid head out the way. I apologize for my last episode, in which my head apparently starred in a good portion of the show, so I'm learning. But look at this. This is the bottle that came with the kit, and this is supposed to be a 1/12 size Corona. Yeah, that's not working. However, interestingly enough, these beer cans, I'm going to crush them, and I will kind of put a couple of them in the set, I think, because even though they are too big, I think from a forced perspective, they might kind of just work. We're going to have some old maps, and we're going to have all kinds of other things, sort of, junk that is going to sort of clutter the inside of the cabin, because obviously Quint wasn't known for his housekeeping abilities, and so the place is an absolute train wreck. The other thing about this build that I am so excited about is because Quint was an absolute train wreck, it's very possible that he never did any maintenance at all from season to season, because the character's boat in the film is completely, it's sort of thrashed. Everything is chipped and worn and tattered and dusty and cracked. And so, wow, what an absolute treat for me, because as most of you know, if you watch my channel, I do love to age things, and I certainly love to make things look older than they are. So that's going to be just, I mean, I'm in heaven already just trying to think about it. So anyway, that was the Corona beer bottle, not a disaster, but I do think it's hilarious to think about scale in that proportion. And so as you can imagine, we'll be putting those into the stash. I don't know, you know, who knows. It's probably more like a Randy Cooper scale build than it'll ever be anything else. The only other thing I wanted to share with you, because I thought this was bizarre and amazing and strange all at the same time, I was sort of going through various sort of, I was looking for nautical stuff online. You know, there's a lot of UK model, scale model wood building companies, I think, in Europe than there are in the US, at least to my knowledge. I found 4 or 5 of them, but it's a little scant in terms of things for this kind of a genre. I mean, you can do a galleon all day long, no problem. Tall mast ships, they've got all kinds of things, no problem. But for this kind of a build, really difficult to find things that make sense. But anyway, I was on eBay for 5 minutes, and I came across somebody who, for like $100, was selling all this stuff. Now, 98.9% of it is thoroughly useless for this build. But the rest of it, oh my God, there's some incredible stuff here. I mean, I've got, I bought 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 caches, plastic caches of nautical themed stuff. And you gotta see this. I mean, the glare is probably gonna, I apologize. Oh, there, that should work. But look, everyone has got all kinds of wacky, fun stuff in it, and some of it will be really helpful. Some chains, some brass cogs. Look at all this rigging stuff. Now, I know Wayne is sending me some rigging rope, but so Wayne, if you need anything else and you're not sure it's the right scale, I got some more and I'll send it your way. So don't hesitate to ask. Anyway, there's all kinds of things here, and I have got, as I said, 5 of these caches. Sorry about the head, guys. I apologize. I'm going to do my best to really work at that. But look at these. I mean, pins, and there's even a compass in there. There's some wheels and cogs. But the thing that I've got my eye on, guys, that I do have some of, but not a lot of, is these. And I'll pull, these, do you see? These are going to be absolutely priceless, because I found that in several of the production stills, there are, in fact, these are used quite a bit. So I am really happy with that. You can see from all of these that there's, there's no shortage of stuff. And so I'm gonna have an awful lot of fun going through this and finding some things that I know will end up on this boat. And so anyway, I just wanted to share that with you, because for $100, I mean, come on. I mean, just to have this in your stash, who knows if you'll ever use it. But, this is the kind of thing that in 25, 30 years, when I am nothing more than ashes floating down the Rogue River, my grandchildren hopefully will find all this stuff and go, wow, Grandpa really had a lot of stuff. And so anyway, it's just one of those things. So I'm absolutely chuffed to have this. Let me put this over here, out the way. Let me get a sip of my royal mug. This came from the Jewel Tower, just across from Westminster Abbey. Got to check that out while we were sightseeing on Saturday. Great fun. And who doesn't need a royal mug in their collection, right? I certainly feel that everybody should have a royal mug. Okay, drum roll please. Let's get this over here. Gently, 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 ever so gently. Because everything on here is just literally sitting here. None of it is glued down. It is all just kind of hanging. Now, what I don't have up, and I can certainly try to put it up, is the cabinet itself. Now, I've been doing some cleanup. I haven't done a thorough cleanup yet, but I've been starting to do cleanup. Now, for those of you who do not know anything about resin, it is quite it's quite something, because some of the detail you can get in resin kits is just absolutely extraordinary. Now, you know, in my last build, when I did the Eagle 2 from Space 1999, I was waxing poetic about getting back to sprue. But I knew this was coming down the pike, and I've got several other things that we're going to be building in the new year. I've got Randy Cooper's, it's sort of a 1:2 scale sand crawler, the Jawa sand crawler. I mean, it's a massive thing, and thanks to my dear friend Randy Newbert over at Voodoo Effects, he sent me an awesome lighting kit for that, and so we're going to be building that on the channel. But we are going to be spending the next several months putting together the ORCA from Jaws, because I just could not wait to get my hands on this. Now, if you've seen my Wonderfest video, or you haven't seen it, please go check it out. It was from late May, early June of this year, and I had the time of my life. Now, my friend Lou Delmeso over at Aztec Dummy highly recommended I go, and of course the year before it didn't happen because of COVID, so it was absolutely a must to go. So we made a pilgrimage, and it was on that pilgrimage that in a hail of angels choruses, I came across Bill Wieger sitting in the corner of this massive hall, and in front of him he had this completely finished, decked out, painted in all of its glory. And I'm telling you, I was a kid in a candy store. I mean, I couldn't take my eyes off of it. It was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. The paint job on it was extraordinary. The details and the nuances are extraordinary. And everywhere you look, it's like literally a living piece of movie history. And I just literally could not take my eyes off of it. The other thing I'll say about it as well is it had this strange kind of quality to it, in which you literally felt like it was a ghost ship, like Quint was around and he just stepped off the boat for 5 minutes to go get a cup of coffee, because that's how incredibly detailed and spectacular this thing is, and was when I first saw it. And so I thought to myself, I've got to have this. And of course, Mrs. sprueVerse then turned around and said to me, well, we've got to get one for Wayne, and this has to be a challenge. And so we supersize whenever we can, and so I thought, why not? And so we did. But let me tell you, not for the faint of heart, because while I thought it was just a function of all we had to do was just pay for the kits, and then they'd be shipped out to us. No, 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 no. It wasn't until actually the 2nd of November that I had a completed kit. Now, I don't say this to bash Bill, because Bill's work is beyond genius. This is, it's a beautiful thing, and I don't even know if the camera can capture the essence of how excited I am about this. But it was a function of, I'm sorry, let me turn my phone off. My phone was on. It was a function of actually all these pieces had to be molded, and well, it had to be poured. The resin had to be poured, and Bill doesn't do that. Someone else does it for him. And of course, there was sort of a pride thing here, so quality was critical. So as you can see from the various angles here, that this thing is absolutely down to the detail perfection. And so it was well worth the wait. But I guess what I'm saying to you in a long-winded sort of way is if this is something you're seriously thinking about, and I will put a information in the description below the video on how to get a hold of Bill, and I'll give you his contact information, and feel free to reach out to him. But you've got to be patient, is what I'm saying. Be patient. You will be rewarded, but you've got to be patient. Okay, so anyway, let me quickly dive in here. Now, as I said, I've been cleaning. So we started to sort of clean things up, and I want to say, let me put this back in here so you can start to see everything. Has keys in the sides of it, so you can start to see how everything fits together, and it fits together beautifully. And I have a small anecdote on that, because I'm going through this now. I don't know, Wayne, you're going to be watching this obviously at some point, but I was looking at all the various blemishes, because you got to go through a resin kit. Is going to have pop marks, it's going to have holes, it's going to have things that you're going to have to fill in. And what I use is something called Magisculpt. Now it's epoxy sculpt. There's all kinds of different versions of it. I have the putty, and I also have the resin. Now the resin is almost like a liquid form. So, and it will sort of find its own level. So it's going to be brilliant for things that are, you know, on the floor, where gravity can help really hard fill things in. And then of course, epoxy sculpt or Magisculpt for things that you don't need. You know, it's just a putty, and it will mold itself, and it cleans up with water. It loves water, and it's very forgiving. But after 24 hours, it's rock solid and ready to sort of paint. It's great stuff. Now Milliput obviously does the same thing, but you can get an entire tub of Magisculpt for what it'll cost you, for the same price basically of a small tube of Milliput. Doesn't go very far in my opinion. But anyway, I wanted to say that because this is really fun. So this is the door to Quint's boat here. Let me get up close and personal for you. So here's the door, right? So this is the inside of the door, and this is the outside of the door. And so the idea here is that this is going to be keyed in such a way that when you put it in your kit, it will be in this position, like this. Now, I thought about putting it on hinges, which you can certainly do, but at the end of the day, I think I'm actually going to glue it in the open position, because you know, I don't really want a lot of fingering and sort of touching it, you know? It's like, it's to be admired and looked at from afar. You don't want to start putting your finger in there and trying to open and close the door. Look how clever I am, because I guarantee you, no matter what I do, it'll fall off the bloody hinges, and then you've got to try and repair it, and that is just a train wreck in my opinion. But anyway, I digress, because what I wanted to do was say, you know, I was looking at it for blemishes and I'm starting to clean it up. You can see it's coming to cleaning up. And then on the back, I look in the bottom corner and I go, oh look, there's a blemish there. I'm going to have to fill that in. But as luck would have it, I have been absolutely immersed in production stills and video capture frames. And in fact, while I was with Wayne in Corby, we sat down and watched pretty much the back end of the movie, and it was hilarious, because when you're looking at a film from that perspective, the things you see are amazing, right? Because you're not listening to the story and you're not watching the actors. You're actually just looking at everything in the background, because that's what you're really focused on. And the things you see that come and go from this boat, it's pretty funny. And one of the things that you do see, though, when you actually do frame grabs, is this door. And that chip is actually out of the bottom of the bloody door. Can you imagine? Can you believe that? And Bill Wieger has actually sculpted that into the door. He actually sculpted that into the door. That shows you how much attention he was paying to the details of this kit. I think that's extraordinary, and it does speak to the quality of this thing. Now, it's also got these. We've got these the side windows, and I'm still continuing to clean those up a little bit, but it's very clear on what is left and what is right, and the reason why it is clear is because I'm going to try and put that there and hope it doesn't fall. Is because in the other window, in the actual cabin itself, there is a ham radio / walkie-talkie. There's the mic and the coil, and now you do see it. You do see it. See, it's here actually. That's why I wanted to point it out. It's been molded into the actual frame, and I really appreciate that. I thought that was very smart, because we can detail that up a little bit, and then we can add a wire that will connect to the radio, and the radio is right here. You can see it right there, right there. I'm tapping it, and that's the radio. And so when I put this this window in, hopefully this one will fall apart. It all sort of keys. It all keys together. Now, nothing is exactly as it should be here, but you can see it all starts to come together really nicely. And then, of course, there's only one way these can go, so that keys into this piece right here. At some point, if this doesn't all fall apart, it'll be a miracle. But you can see now that is on. And what I'm going to try and attempt to do here is I'm going to try to actually get I'm calling it the crow's nest, because it is the control center. Now, interestingly enough, you can actually navigate this boat from inside the cabin or from up here in this little crow's nest. So that's why I've chosen to call it the crow's nest. Now, I'm going to try and put this down on here and not have it all collapse. If it does, which it is going to, anyway, I'll hold this up for a second, but you can start to see, look at this, starting to look like the ORCA. Isn't that magnificent? Starting to look like the ORCA. And that's just incredible. I'll do it again from this angle so you can see it from this angle, but you can see it really, you can start to see how this is all going to come together, and just exactly how much of an incredible match this is. So I could not be could not be happier with that. So I will continue to clean these up, and we've got some acrylic, which actually Wayne was kind enough to give me. And I don't have a laser cutter, he does, so I suspect he'll end up sort of cutting his with a laser. I haven't quite figured out how I'm going to cut mine. I will seek some consultation on that, but they'll drop into, they will drop into here perfectly. And this is one of those few occasions where you literally you don't want to clean your acrylic. You want to actually leave it as you want to leave it dirty, because hey, Quint didn't clean the glass. But these windows, it's very clever, and I don't know, you know, clearly this was a production thing as well, but everything was made large enough so cameras could see in, and you can see plenty. Now on the inside of this beauty, we actually have the Banquette. Here it is, and here's the table. Now what I was saying is what we think, and I've got to give all the credit to Wayne for this, because I think he picked up on it, is the Banquette itself does not go all the way around. It only goes to the very back wall. This piece we don't think exists. We think that the back side of this, Hooper was actually sitting on the oscilloscope, which ends up outside on a barrel. So here it is. Here it is. I'm going to show you this. Here's the oscilloscope, and it's now, you know, it's sitting on it's sitting on a sort of an igloo, or, you know, a barrel with I don't know if it's got fish in it or beer or whatever he's got in it, but it ends up outside. And so we thought, well, that's curious, because it clearly does move, but he was not sitting on a Banquette. Now, my Banquette is pretty well, it's pretty well molded. I mean, it is a thing of beauty. So I'm pretty happy with it. Now, what we've talked about is cutting it and actually trying to figure out just exactly what you see on that back wall. So I don't know whether that Banquette got removed for various scenes, whether it was never there. I'm gonna make an effort to really see if I can actually figure out the truth. And it would be great to hear from you guys too in the comments. If you think you know just exactly what's on that back wall, that would be amazing. And we'll continue to sort of figure that out ourselves. So everything obviously has to be cleaned up. With resin, it is incredibly soft. Now, you don't want to breathe it in, so you really don't want to be working with an awful lot of dust, because it's not good to get into your lungs. Fortunately, there's not a lot of cleanup to do here. There's a little bit of patching and some flash, but for the most part, these parts are pretty well detailed. So I'm not too worried about that. But if I do end up, you know, spending some time working on some sanding, I will put on a respirator. Now, this this resin loves CA glue. It just bites and never comes apart. So that's the glue of choice here for anything resin to resin. However, when you start painting resin, that's where it becomes a real challenge, because then the CA glue does not like to glue to the paint side of things. You won't get a good bond, and of course you'll just pull the paint off. Now, in this particular build, that might be a strategy for making things look old, I don't know. But for the most part, categorically, you've got to really make sure that where you're gluing something down, that you don't get any glue on it. Now, everything is keyed in here. Everything here has a peg. It has these pegs under it, and they drop nicely into the places where they're supposed to go. Now, There's no instruction manual with this, and I'm woefully short of some things like some decals. An example is that the all of the various different tanks that you need. Well, here they are. Here's Hooper's oxygen tank here, and there's two of these, and they are going to drop into these two little, you see how they key in like that, and they key in, and so you get this sort of lovely, you get this place for them to stand. Now, I don't have the decals that belong on these bottles, but fear not, because I know that between Ian Campbell, the genius of Ian Campbell, and perhaps even Jeff Fink, equally as genius, hopefully they'll help us with decals. And so because we're gonna be needing those, there's some signage here that definitely we need. So that's an issue. Now, the other thing is, I mean, there's all, we've got the, here, I just want to talk about this for a second. So here's the the light for the Banquette, and I want to show you the other one, because I haven't, but I printed these. Now, I printed one set for me, and I printed one set for Wayne, and they're absolutely beautiful. And here they are. So I'm gonna put them. Let me put them here for a second. Let's see if I can get B camera to pick them up. Here they are. Now, I'd be curious to know what you guys think, but I was thinking from a scale perspective that this feels a lot better to me than this. This to me just feels just too large. Now, there are things of beauty. Here's the larger one, which Jeff firmly believes is correct, and he may well be right. But to my eye, and here's the one that I think I'd like to go with. Here, I can put them side by side, give you a fairer comparison. I'm not sure that's very helpful, but I think there, if I separate them a little bit, you can see. One is a lot, this cone is not as flared as this cone, but I'm struggling with, I'm just sort of struggling with the scale of this, and that's okay. But I'm not entirely sure. But from my perspective, it does feel like the smaller one is just more in scale. However, having said that, and now looking at the thing, now I'm second guessing myself again. I don't know. So I'll probably be having a very intense conversation with Wayne about which one is proportionally correct, and I'm sure Jeff will chime in for me here. And anyway, so I'm going to be working on that. We've talked about, we've also talked about cutting into these two louver doors and having them be able to open. I'm having second thoughts about that, only because of getting a perfect cut and then trying to clean that up and find the correct louvers. I don't know. I'm having second thoughts about that. But what I do know is winging its way here is some mahogany, some very, very thin mahogany strips that Wayne has kindly sourced for us. And so I know that's coming, and I definitely think that it's worth us looking at trying to actually put as much of that mahogany inside as possible, because you can't really substitute that look. So I think that's going to be pretty cool. So I'm seriously looking at that. So there'll be a lot of real wood in this, and that'll be amazing. The other thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to on the perch here. Here, let me put this on B camera so you can see a little more of the perch. I'll pull this. Let me pull this into frame a little more here. Sorry, things are starting to fall apart, but that's okay. That's what happens when nothing is glued. But I've got this. This 1/16 inch brass rod that I've started to bend, and I'm going to use that to I think be the rail of my perch here, and proportionally I really like that. I'm going to see if I can actually solder the down pipes to this. And then all of that gets wrapped in rope. So in the actual production stills, you can see that this thing is wrapped in rope. It's got a tight wrap around the entire thing, and then it's got a loose wrap over that, which forms the sort of the non-slip handle, as it were, to this. And if I have enough, if I don't, I'll have to get some more. But I'm going to use this, I think, for the ladder as well, because the ladder that comes with the kit is woefully, it just doesn't, to me, it just doesn't, it doesn't play. Now I have not cleaned this up, in fairness to this piece, and once it's in position, I'm sure it would be fine. I just can't use it. It just doesn't work for me. It's too wonky. And even though the rope is sort of molded into the top here, it just doesn't work. So I'm not going to go with that. I'm going to go with something else, and that will have to be fabricated. The other thing I do not have is, well, I have most of the mast, and it all works kind of fine. So I want to talk about the mast, actually, as one of the sort of the last things we talk about on this sort of prep episode. Now, Wayne and I have the same masts. I stuck mine in some boiling water for a couple of minutes, and I was able to straighten mine out. And there are two pieces to it. And I've drilled out the top of this one, and I have to say, it looks pretty straight. Now, the reason why I'm hesitating, I do have wooden dowel, and I am, obviously the intention was and is to sort of do a lot better. Now, and also the other issue is we need the foot rails that allow you to climb up to the sort of the lookout tower at the top. There's a sort of a lookout tower, and there are these foot rails. And Bill Wieger suggested, and that's what I intended to use, is little brads. And I've got them here, so I wanted to show those to you. Here they are. And these are, according to Bill, the best thing to use. And you can see they've got these nice little finished ends on them. And so what you would do with these is you would obviously flatten out the sharp end and drill it all the way through, and then bend it up. And I think we can do that obviously with some needle nose pliers, and then that gives you your footholds. However, you're not going to be doing that with this rod, because this rod has a metal rod in it to help with stability and to keep it straight. Didn't do a very good job, but it's in there. And so if you try to drill all the way through this, you're just not going to be able to. So if you end up using this mast, you're going to sort of have two pieces to create the illusion that it's coming out of one end or the other. That's one of the most compelling reasons to not use it. It's one of the most compelling reasons to actually go with rod. And I do have, excuse me here while I drift away from you, I've got the rod here. The the dowel, I should say, and yeah, here is the correct proportion. Now I've not cut at this, but there it is, and I have to say that is just a hell of a lot more stunning than that resin, and so I've got to believe that this is the way to go. Now it does become thinner at the top, but only slightly, and I don't know if that matters at all. But when you actually put this in, key this in like this, this won't stand up, but it's extraordinary how wonky this actually is. But what I'm going to have to figure out how to do is get all of these various turnings, which I'm not too worried about that, because I know I can recreate the plates that hold this mast together, the metal parts. That's not my issue. Excuse me while I take a quick sip of the royal mug. No, it's not alcohol. I wish it was, but it's noon here. I would fall asleep. But anyway, it's got these, and I'll show you these on camera. It's got these slots, do you see? And they allow you to key in the various parts of the boat. And so what I'm concerned about is actually recreating those on these dowels, because it's going to require a little bit of skill to get those absolutely perfect squares. Now I know there's a way to do this with chisels and everything else, and so I'm certainly going to make an effort to do that, because I think it's a better way to go, and we'll see what we end up with. I did pull a couple of things like this brass rod here, this brass piece here, and you can see when I actually get this on camera, there we go, you can see when I actually put the brass, now this isn't the right size obviously, but you can see when I put this against it, what a difference that makes. I mean, it's just going to make a huge difference in terms of the quality of what we're doing. So I do think that's the way to go, but it could take several months for me to actually get that right. The other thing that I've got is I've sourced this copper tape, and this copper tape is going to come in extreme handy for different things, whether it's at the bottom of the actual door itself, some of the areas here. I'll show you. Whoops, hang on, sorry, I got button crazy. But here on the boat are various different panels, and these panels are surrounded by what only appears to be sort of metal that it has these rivets in it. Now I've got a rivet wheel, and so I can get rivets into this tape really easily, and I think that's going to really make a huge difference in terms of the quality of what we do. Control surfaces, I need dials, decals for my dials. I don't have any of that. None of those came with this kit, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do there. But I'm sure between Wayne and I we'll source those, and that will take care of pretty much all of the various different surfaces. Where it's really going to desperately be needed is here. As you can see, these surfaces are blank, so they all need dials. So the knobs I'm not too worried about, because I can use, I think, stick pins for those, and they should look pretty good. But I don't have dial faces, and that's going to be a bit of an issue for me, because they have to be scaled to size. But I know I have enough resources where I can reach out and beg a lot of people to help me. and I know they will. So, I mean, that's the fun thing about this community is it's just an awesome community. So there you go. That's a sort of 50,000 foot overview of the boat. I did build this little, as you can see, this temporary sort of jig for it to sit in, and I'm glad I did, because it allows it to sit nice and flat and let me work at it. Otherwise, you just, you run the risk of damaging it. As I said, portholes are coming, so that's exciting. We do not have a porthole for the door, as I understand it. And curiously enough, the detail on this one is pretty darn good on the inside, but when you turn it over and you look on the outside, not so great, obviously, because that raised area really did not, it didn't hold. And so that has to be worked on, but that's all part of it, right? But for the most part, this is just a stunning piece. We've got some damage to one of the sides here. I don't think I can get close enough for you to actually see this, but there's some damage right here where I'm going to have to repair it. It's basically a blister in the resin. It happens, and there's a few of those that have to be cleaned up, but other than that, for the most part, she's pretty clean. And all of the exterior pieces here along the hull, which you think look like for the eye, initially you think, oh, rough mold. No. This is actually battle damage to this boat that has been actually carefully and beautifully carved into the mold, and it pops. It works. So it's extraordinary. So just so much detail, and I could not be more excited for this adventure. So step one is I'm going to get everything cleaned up, and then I'm going to start on my interior of the cabin, just making sure I've got everything I need. And then once everything's cleaned up and I know I've got everything on hand that I need, then I'm going to give this puppy a coat of primer, and we'll start working on various elements, because there are going to be some sub-assemblies, but there are also some things that are not going to be. But I suspect I'm going to try and work on as much of the detail as I can while I've got an open sort of proscenium to get to, because once you start closing things up in here, you're never going to get to anything. It better be ready to go. So not too many fit issues, but that's okay. And then of course I've got a cage that I have to, I'll show you this quickly. A cage that I have to construct that goes at the end here like this, something like that, where these barrels fit into, and then there's ropes and rigging around them. So I'll probably end up getting a lot more of this rod, but I suspect it's going to pay dividends, because from a scale perspective, I think this is really the way to go. It may be slightly too large, but I think to the eye, it's going to look pretty harmonious, so I'm pretty excited about it. So that's it. This is the ORCA from Bill Wieger. It's an all resin kit. This is the brand new sprueVerse World of Wayne challenge. We're going to both be building these boats and adding our own flair to them and reporting in once in a while, with, as always, the final reveal on one of Wayne's Thursday night live streams at some point in the future. I would probably say a good 5 to 6 months from now. I doubt we're going to be ready before then, although the race is on and there are so many other things that I want to build. So this might get set aside once in a while for me to work on other things, because if anybody knows me, you'll know that I like to work on 3 or 4 things at once. But wow, I'm just so excited to have this here and to finally be underway. And I hope you join me for this journey. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'll try to add some thought to it too, you know, where we get into the weeds on some details and what I'm working on, rather than just showing you progress, because some of you might be curious about how we tackle some of these things. But for the most part, it really is going to be sort of progress reports. If you've just found the channel, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I really appreciate that. But again, as always, guys, please be well, be safe, build something, and we'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.